So I think the most kind of interesting thing for me is really going to be their offensive line versus our defensive line. They got 3 first-round picks. I really like Tyler Guyton. I think he's going to be a great young player in this league, or he's going to be a great player in this league. Tyler Smith obviously is already off to a great start with his career, and then we got a first-round draft pick that's going to pull. So we got a down block right here that I just wanted to show you because this is, like, for me, one of the things that we have to control and we have to do really well. This is going to be another one of those teams, I think, that, or one of the maybe the first teams, because of the 3 first-round picks, and particularly 2 on the interior of the offensive line, where you're going to really get tested from a physical standpoint at the defensive tackle spot, and maybe a way that, I think we were last week too with those 2 All-Pros, right? But these are young, hungry guys. They're trying to prove something. They got to lean on the run game. This Dallas Cowboys offense, everybody talks about Dak Prescott, fair enough, but really when they run the football, they're successful. And then when they have to throw the ball 60 times a game or whatever it is, I think they're leading the league in passing, and they're 1-2 for a reason. They have I think they try to pass the ball 43 or 44 times a game. It's way too much. So their inability to establish a run would be one of the keys for our success as Packers. Let's just see the 60 going at it, though. Really does a great job of driving and finishing. They have some issues here with the pull, obviously, with the Bears kind of getting in really tight and getting underneath this. But that kind of movement is a problem. Got a second down play here with a wing look, 12 personnel under center. And we know they like to run under center play action, but we just got a lot of eye candy here. So one thing that happens, these teams will figure out if this fast motion is going to make him go over the top, or they're just going to bump, right? And once you understand that, you understand where the inserts are going to be. So it makes it easy for the line to make calls maybe as part of the game plan. These guys can double team. Look at it from the sideline. Watch the action right here. And I don't think the Bears defensive line is any kind of, world beaters, but that's what you call movement. That's embarrassing. Now, the expectation would be obviously that we can hold up a little bit better than this. But that right tackle and that guard are putting some work in. And, that 49, Edwards from, I think he used to play for Buffalo, he doesn't have anything really to do here. They go backside with the split flow. They cut Montez Sweat, and then you got problems. All right. Okay, we got under center again. 12 personnel. Belly play. Kind of got everything you want here. Are we going to run this? This almost looks like a jam look. I might be inclined to call this player over here a 4-eye. But you're going to get your doubles here if you want them. There's going to be one single block, probably play side, unless they decide to go duo inside here. Let's see how this one plays out. But this is the name of the game. Can you stop them on first down? And this is some of the stuff that you see out of their line. You watch Tyler Smith. I just pointed out this defensive tackle, but watch the guard. A little bit sloppy with their footwork at times, trying to position block, put yourself in a bad position. Obviously, the back kind of makes him right here because they do a decent job on the double team. You don't love the pad level at the right guard position. He steps underneath himself. Step underneath yourself, you got bad leverage. So the Bears do a pretty good job, I think, of put those guys horizontal, not allowing for any penetration. This will be kind of the name of the game again on first and second down. Are we able to get in that position and really make a play? We'd love to see that guy stop for a tackle for 0 yards or a much shorter break. But now we're back to the under center play action. They go shift. They go across. Looks like the split flow gets everybody to bite. And they just don't have great separation downfield, so they got to hit the check down. But a lot of teams now are just playing the long game with this check down stuff. You expect the Packers to play the same. This is kind of what they've done. The question will be, obviously, do they have answers for for our dogs and our blitzes. You look at here again, they do a very good job covering up. So you look at this play, and this is kind of a feast and famine team. Here's something interesting that we talked about on the last show. So you see this. So now the guard is responsible for understanding when to hike the ball here. So the center can see what's going on, flashes, now everybody gets set, and they can go. Anytime you get a defensive lineman on the ground, you're going to be in good shape. You watch, now I remember why I put this play on. This kid is ridiculously strong. Watch his hands here. Gets his hands tight. Again, we're not talking about the best D lineman in the world, but just absolutely moving him off the spot like a highlight reel. At a 13 or 22. Looks like that's 22 with that fullback. And they run the lead. Under center, just sets up for some stuff that I think later on in the game, if they can find success here. So this is what they want to feature. They want to get under and try to get some double teams, try to get some movement. And the reality is, it's feast or famine. Sometimes they're fantastic at it. Sometimes they don't do as good of a job. I don't think their center is a great player, quite frankly. I think we can have some success there as far as getting across his face, getting some penetration, beating him on the edge when he's single blocking. I don't know that this play is specifically any kind of indicator for that. You see what they're doing here down. These are always interesting plays to me. As we do this as with the Green Bay Packers, but you can just right off the line here, they'll do a little fake to try to get him to hesitate so that when we come across, we just get a clean shot and he's not sitting there waiting up or trying to close that space. So they get everything they want here. Edmonds comes in and just kind of blows the play up. Obviously expect Quay or Coop or any of those guys to come in, McDuffie, and have the same kind of success. Watch it from the backside here. I like the split. You just kind of think about, what's heady about this play? Well, the split between the tight end and the tackler really kind of forces him to stay wide one and then just keeps eyes on because there's always an opportunity to block, to crack, to do something else, to bang out if it's a pass rush, right? So it just keeps that defensive end's mind occupied a little bit more. And you've kind of got what you want as far as the double teams go. They're going to bring that safety into the box. You assume that they're going to go ahead and try to release the tight end for him. But really, it's a question of, can you get some really good movement on that 3 technique and create kind of a two-way go? A lot of these kind of turn into like A gap or B gap, C gap plays, right? A lot of teams now are running the power stuff downhill at the A gap. We used to run it out to the B or C, depending on the look. But they like that backside play if the nose tackle goes over the top. 1st and 10 here. They go motion to bunch, bring him back for the end around, little gadget play. And I'll just show this once or twice. It's kind of interesting how they run this. And this is where you kind of think, well, what kind of operation are we doing here? You watch Guyton at the top. Guyton's hinging and to kind of leave the guy outside. Now it ends up working out because, and I'll show it, I think this is Ferguson coming across. It's fun to watch. Is this Ferguson in motion? Up. Is there one of the other tight ends? Watch this. Just takes 2 here. Ends up making something out of nothing. But gadget plays are part of their offense. Certainly, they always have been. Maybe more so than we're used to seeing in the last couple of weeks. But look, just being a sound defense, fast flying to the football. There's a lot of indicators here, and I think the one thing that's difficult on that play in particular is like the hinge on the backside kind of leaves that defensive end wide open. This looks like, they're just running another power play, bringing that fullback back to be the second lead or the wrap player. And this is kind of more what I'm used to seeing in talking about I'll show this from the end zone, of how the running back's initial path is. We were just talking about an A-gap track. Now you look at this play, and this back is he's gonna take a counter step, and then he's gonna follow that wrapper, right? So let me just fast forward this. So as we come back here, now he's following that, take that counter, following this wrapper as he goes. If this opens up, he can go here, he can go here, and if that defensive end went that way, he can actually cut it all the way back, right? That's why Edmonds is kind of sitting here going, I'm not ready to leave just yet. That's a great run. They used to, like Amon would used to hit that run every once in a while, but generally you were just trying to pop that off the tackle or that double team block and then kind of follow the wrapper. It's funny over the course of years because a lot of guys would try to, they have an actual name for the stunt, but they would try to wrap that nose tackle. They would effectively, as soon as this guy blocked back, they would just pick and play over with the nose tackle. Right? Or if this guy was getting doubled and he get picked back, he would immediately try to stunt over. It would be part of the play based on the formation and the personnel group. So what guys ended up doing was now saying, well, let's just aim it at the A-gap here because now this is really easy if he plays back. And if it's not, then we'll just bounce it. Now they don't get the same kind of momentum, right? So the angles maybe aren't as good when you actually hit this hole. But if you're just looking for this one, plus these linebackers usually like to play over the top. They'll play a little, we call that like fill and spill over the top, and then more often than not, you just kind of have this gap in that play side A gap. So a lot of teams are running it this way. I obviously I'm old school. I like watching this stuff a little bit more, but then you see the cut and see why it's so effective. All right, we got 1st and 10. Motion across, another under center. This just, in my opinion, I love the revival of the under center stuff now because the distance for the running back to get to the line of scrimmage changes. The angle for the running back to get to the line of scrimmage changes. The optionality for the quarterback changes as far as what they can do at the line of scrimmage. And the play action, you just remember Peyton Manning with those long, wide zone, showing the ball play actions and how difficult it was to be right if you were the safety back in the day. And it's really, for me, it's a lost art. I love watching it. So they go shift and come back and end up running this really just strong side belly again with another split flow look. Now, you see the Cowboys like to throw on the backside. I'm sure Rashawn Gary and Parsons will be watching that closely. And always a question when you look at that is how fast or how tight, maybe more so, when you see this guy go, how tight can we get to his hip so that this guy really can't run that split flow effectively? But they get some good doubles here. Center gets actually to get part of 2 of them. They want to play a physical brand of football. They want to be a downhill football team. You got a 2-eye over the left guard. You should be able to get a double here with the tackle. He got a single block. You see how, again, I just appreciate from a line play standpoint or a physicality standpoint, this kid has, this kid's got some good bend, right? He's got some good bend, and he plays with a lot of power. Now, there's some technical stuff that we'll see that you can beat him with. I don't know where he's opening up to, but we're going to end up getting a double here. That's pretty good. Backside, good start of the double team. Edwards. God, I can't remember if it's Edmonds or Edwards, 49. Plays underneath the tackle. That should never happen. But they're getting guys moving horizontally. They're getting guys off their spot, making it difficult for those linebackers. Trying to finish the play at the top. You saw that. Love it. 1st and 10 play, just 11 personnel, out of gun. Always want to shift. I don't know if they're shifting for any particular reason, generally speaking, if they're trying to kind of cheat the system as far as where the slide's going to be, where the protection's going. In this case, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a half roll with the center pull, or the guard pull. So another play action look. running 4 verts, it looks like. And look, one thing Dak Prescott can do is wing it. And if you watch this play, kind of watching the slot here, the safety, you guys, just out of the pocket, safety goes wide, and you look at the seam is wide ass open. Obviously, he's kind of got options all over, but really this right side he chose wisely because of the depth. They're running 2 over here for the Bears, and so they're immediately trying to throw it in the space here. Gets hit, and I think if we looked at this backside, I think this is the center getting beat, and this is always something where you're just kind of looking for opportunities. When the guard pulls, you get north, beat his hands, get the man. Dak ends up making a great throw, but he pays for it. And as I watch this center, though, I feel pretty good that I think we can make some hay there. Okay, 1st and 10 play again. Just a simple 2x2. Bears really bring 5. End up getting the sack. We look downfield. A lot of coverage. Now you've got the smash route up top there. He's wide open. Doesn't see it. We go to the end zone copy. I think that's Montez Sweat. You guys, if you've ever watched this show before, and if I see that foot pointed towards the sideline, I'm kind of almost wishing he loses because I think it's such a kind of mechanical mistake. But that's just a good football player beating another football player. Gets those vertical feet, catches, helmet in, no punch. Do a good job here. The Bears decide to bring 5 just to make sure that Sweat can get on his own. There's plays to be made there sometimes. Your eyes aren't right as a quarterback, but this is kind of the hope sometimes, especially with our defensive pressure. Now, we don't ever really just bring, when you kind of look at this rush, it's like, man, this is a very basic rush. Like, the expectation is, we got 3 to a side. We bring up both linebackers. They're pick stunning or doing something. It's a lot more exotic. It's more exciting. They come from depth. They're trying to knock out the center here. So there's a lot more action. This is kind of, basic wins sometimes when you got a Montez Sweat or a Myles Garrett on your team. But, you start creating some of those different pressures with those linebackers. And the one thing that you got to say about Green Bay, and the last thing I'll say before we get off this tape is, like, remember, our linebackers are really, really good at bringing pressure. So we have the advantage of we could let Micah Parsons be on his own, put those linebackers on the other side, and just try to isolate him, right? And then run some stunts on the other side. Or as we saw last week, when we just put those guys up in like the A or B gap and they start to account for them, or we just invert where the linebackers are going to be at the line of scrimmage, sometimes they leave a guy like Rashawn Gary unblocked. And when you leave that guy unblocked, his stats are going to look pretty good. But that next contract's going to look even fatter. So as you can see, very basic on defense. They don't generate a pass rush. You can run the deep stuff all day, and they're susceptible to the play action pass. I think that's going to end up opening some things up for the quarterback run game. I think that's going to end up opening some things up from, obviously from Josh Jacobs. Really, what can we do in the screen? And we saw it on a couple of clips there as well. They are passing the ball in offense more than anybody in the league, and they're 31st in the league in turnover margin. I think they're giving up almost 2 turnovers more to the opposing team every single week. Now, obviously, it's young in the season. I'm sure they're going to clean some of that stuff up. But you don't see a lot of kind of, let's just say, for the lack of a better term, dynamic play calling from this team. And a team that, quite frankly, on both sides of the football needs it because they don't have star players in certain positions like you would expect some of the Dallas Cowboys defenses and offenses to have. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. The 6.5 points feels really good. I don't know where to go with the over-under. I think it's 47.5. But listen, I think the Packers win this one. I think they reestablish their offensive and defensive lines. I think this is a really good test in that manner for both those sides of the football because it really does come down to how well those sides play and how we can pick up what I think is going to be some necessary evil pressure from the Dallas Cowboys, at least against our offensive line. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button, rate and review us. Thanks to everybody who's watching. Keep bringing your questions. Enjoy the weekend, guys, and we'll get to you next week.